Yo, let me show you where I get the fonts that I use and how I use those fonts to create t-shirt designs. What's happening, everybody? Boy Big Brando, and today we're going to be talking about where I get all my fonts and how I basically use those fonts to create t-shirt designs. Now, let me start by saying I'm not a graphic designer. I'm not a professional graphic designer. I'm not a graphic designer by trade. I don't even know the right terminology when it comes to graphic design. I just know a thing or two about a thing or two when it comes to Photoshop and Illustrator, and it's basically just piecing things together, clicking around on tools, and making something look somewhat visually appealing. Anytime I show a t-shirt that I'm making, or I show a t-shirt that I made and I'm selling, people always say, hey, what's the name of that font? Where can I find that font? What font is that? And I always respond with, click the custom fonts link in the description box, or click the custom fonts link in the bio. That link has always been there for you guys. Just people don't like to look for things. And then it's always followed up with, all right, thanks. What's the name of that font? For myself, I spend hours on this site. I get lost on this site looking for the exact font that I want to create the design that I want to do. Sometimes I have a vision in my head and I want it to look like this. So I look on that site for hours trying to find the right look that I'm going for. Now, I say this all the time, but I can teach you how to hunt, but I am not gonna spoon feed you. You have to put in your own work around here. If there's a look that you're going for, the link is there in the description box for you. All you have to do is click that and look for what you're actually trying to go for. You don't even have to use the link in my description box. You can go to whatever font site you want. But I can't be out here doing all the hard work for you and you reaping the benefits by just me giving up what I'm using. You have to do your own work. You got to go out here and look for whatever look you're going for. And it's cool to be inspired by the stuff that I make. And you're like, oh, you know what? That looks dope. I want to make something similar to that. But you have to actually come up with your own original idea and look for the font that you want to create. And if your response to that is, I'm too busy to look through fonts, I don't need that, just give me the name, then I can't help you. If you're not willing to put in your own work for your own stuff, there's nothing on this channel that's going to help you out. There's nothing I can do or say to help you out, because this business is about putting in your own work. I promote free thinkers. I promote people coming up with their own original ideas, and I promote people thinking for themselves instead of letting somebody else do the thinking for them. If that's not you, this channel might not be for you. Like I said, you don't have to click the link in the description box. You could go to whatever font site you want. But if you wanted to see where I get all my stuff from, link is right there. So let me turn the camera around and show you guys exactly what happens when you click on the link, how to search through things, and basically what I do. I also want to show you guys how to kind of manipulate text in Photoshop to make things look a little bit more visually appealing than just like a standard bar of text. So let me turn the camera around, show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so when you click that link, this is what it's going to take you to. This is the fonts page. Everything is broken down by, like, here's new and trending. These are different display fonts, serif fonts, sans serif, best-selling fonts. These are going to be like really popular ones, script fonts, slab serif. Everything is broken down on here. And then you can also go up here and pick different categories. There's all kind of different ways to break this stuff down. Everything is basically laid out for you. So let's say you wanted to see what new and trending is. Click on new and trending. All of the new trending fonts that everybody's looking at and stuff that's like really popular is here. You can type in what you want, like each one to say, so then that way it'll give you like basically a sample of what it could look like. So let's say you wanted to go here and you're like, man, this is a cool athletic type font. You could see the price up here. Everything is already laid out. So since I have South Bay written in here, it's gonna give me basically what it'll look like. Here's the shadow. Here's the actual, this part of the font, like the college style, varsity looking font. Here it is with an outline. Everything that's shown here comes in the package. And then they give you all of these different, like, I guess, variations and examples on how you can use the font. And this right here is one of the easiest ways visually to see, like, oh man, it would look cool like this. And you can always change what you want it to say in here. Type in there, it'll give you whatever you want. So if you wanted to see what Los Angeles looked like, now it's gonna give you a sample of Los Angeles, or let's say, well, let's just say sample. it'll show you a sample of what sample would look like with that text. So this is where I get all my fonts. I spend majority of my time looking through this thing and just kind of scouring this site, trying to find something that looks cool, or if I have an idea in my head and I'm like, oh, you know what, it'll look cool like this. I just scroll through here. There's pages, there's 277 pages of different fonts to like look through, go through and be like, all right, this looks cool, this doesn't look cool. I use that little, I type in what I want it to say, and I just kind of go through the motions. And this is kind of where all of the dirty, hard work is done, when you're sitting here looking at every single font that they have to offer, because there's tons of stuff on here. It's up to you to figure out what look you're going for, to figure out what you want to actually use the font for, and is it worth you paying for? That's the biggest part, is the price worth it? A lot of these are $25. This one up here is $87. There's some that come in like these font bundles. Let me see if I could come across a bundle where it's like 6 or 7 different fonts in one package, and then it'll be like a cheap price or something like that. That's something I would probably look at. There's a lot of different ones if you want to do some horror looking stuff. All of these on here are options for you to figure out what you want to do. So right here, here's a bundle. If you wanted some of these, like they call it whimsical font bundle. It's a lot of different kind of like script, cursive style fonts. And this bundle has, I think, 10 different ones. Oh, more than that. And it costs $15. So looking for bundles is a good way to do this. If there's a bundle that has like a few that you really like, then you can actually bundle up and get those. But this is all it is. You sit here and you look at all 277 pages. This vintage one right here looks dope. It looks like there's a lot of them. It's like bargain shopping when you go through this way. So all of these different fonts are in this bundle. There's 30 of them. And here's all the samples. Damn, 202 different variations, which is dope. So these are all, like, some of these look distressed. They'll probably have some that are solid and opaque looking. Some of them already have the distress built into the font, which is cool. These are different ways that you can use it. This is all it is. So when people say, hey, what font are you using? And they expect me to just say, oh, I use this font right here. I sit here and I go through every single one of these and I look for what I want. And it shows in my designs because I'm trying to find stuff that not a lot of people use. And I'm also trying to find stuff that maybe some people aren't really looking at. Or like if I took this one right here and then I actually, squeeze the letters a little bit closer, made things, just manipulated a little bit so it looks a little different than whatever they're showing as the sample, and kind of make it my own and make it a little bit different. That's all I do. So if you wanted to actually find fonts that I use, instead of just having to ask and say, hey, what font you use, sit down and do the work and look through all of these fonts and find something that you're really looking for, or something that you maybe seen out in public. Maybe you've seen a billboard and you're like, man, that typeface looks cool, or that font looks dope. You find whatever you're looking for basically on this site right here, because it will give you what this looks like, a sample of what it can be like, and it's up to you to recreate what you're actually trying to go for. Hopefully this helps somebody out. Hopefully you guys understand when I say like it takes a long time to like dig through fonts and look for exactly what you're looking for. This is what I'm talking about. I can spend hours looking through this stuff and just looking for exactly what I'm looking for, or like the vision that I have. I'll just sit here and scroll mindlessly and be like, oh, you know what? I really want to use something that looks like this, or I want to use something that looks like this. And by them giving you a little example of what it can be or what it can look like would be dope. It gives you a different idea and gives you a different direction on what you might have thought you wanted to do. And now you have a better idea on kind of where you wanted to go. And look, we're barely on page 9 of the new and trending stuff. And this isn't even like you could dive deep into just nothing but black letter or nothing but script or whatever it is. This is just new and trending. These are like things that people are kind of into, and these are kind of what's popping right now in the design space. And you just kind of go through here and look at whatever you wanted to. So if you wanted to look for some fonts, the link is always for you in the description box. It's been there from the beginning of time. I've always had the link there for you guys. It's just some people don't bother to look, or some people don't want to put in the work. All right, so let's say that you don't even want to spend money on fonts, and you're just like, hey man, like, I just want to do some regular stuff. So if we just picked a regular standard font that everybody has on their computer, which is called Impact. This is a regular ass font. You guys see a lot of people use it already. Most people will just type it out. Like I just typed out sample right now, and they're like, all right, I'm ready to cut this out on vinyl, or here's my design right here. You don't have to just go with whatever you type out and that's what it's gonna look like. For myself, you could do easy things by like squeezing the letters together and then making it look a little bit different. All I did was just squeeze them together. I went up here where you can manipulate the character or the text. It looks like this little A with a line on the side. And if you don't have that, you could go to Window and then you can pick it from here, character, see it's checked. Now it's in my little toolbar on the side here. All you do is just squeeze it together. This is gonna take the gaps out. Like if you wanted it to look like this for whatever reason, this is very easy manipulation. There it is. Or let's say you just wanted to squeeze, like you wanted to make a bigger gap here, or just squeeze that in. You just highlight one of the letters and then it'll just move one of the letters. And you're like, oh man, maybe I want to put a bigger gap because I want to put an image in the middle. Then you do something like that. Now you have a gap in between your letters. You have to just play around with whatever design software you're using. But something like this is simple, where you could just do this, and then you could come up here to this little T with the little arch, and then you could give it a little bend, like so you could warp text. You could do like a big arc like that. You could make it balloon out and bulge it out. And then say if it's like, now this is too much, then you scale it down and you're like, all right, maybe I want it to look like that, or I want more, where it looks like it's like wrapped around something. This is like simple stuff that you can do to like manipulate text here in Photoshop. So like if I were gonna use this, I could just come here and I'll arch this thing at plus 20%. And that already looks cool right there, right? It's like, oh, it looks a little bit different than just the standard. This is what it was gonna look like, right? If we took this, like, take the gaps away, this is what, if you just typed it out regular, this is what it would look like. This is what you would cut out with vinyl. But just by squeezing the text together and putting a small little arch on that, it makes it look a little bit different. And now if you just wanted to like go one step further, all you have to do is come down here, double click on the text, and let's say we're gonna add a stroke on here. Let's change the color and we'll just say green. And we'll make that 15. So that looks cool. There's like a green stroke on there. And then you're like, oh, you know what? Let's add a shadow on here. So you come down here to drop shadow, adds a little shadow. You could adjust where you want the shadow to look. Right now it's set up at 90, which is basically the light shining from the top. Like if you know what a shadow is, right? It's just casting a shadow. So it's, if the light was up here, shining down on here, the shadow is gonna be on the back side. If the light was coming from here, then that means the shadow is gonna cast more to this side. So you just spin this around, this little angle circle thing right here, and it'll manipulate where the light's coming in from. So right now we just want it to come from the top and bottom. You could adjust the distance. If you want the shadow to be a little bit deeper and bigger, you just slide this and it'll show how far the shadow is gonna move around. Very easy, basic, simple stuff. So we'll just leave this at 60 and we'll change the color to this green right here. So that looks cool. It's like, oh man, but you don't want to just do that. You don't want to, I don't know, maybe you don't want a 2-color design, right? Maybe you're cutting vinyl and you just want it to be a 1-color design, and how do you get that shadow to actually pop out? This is all you do, or this is all I would do. I duplicate the layer. So now I have 2 of these layers. Come up here and I merge visible. Now everything is on here. I can no longer manipulate anything within this. This is just one piece right here. First thing I would do is I would say, you know what? I don't want all these little small gaps in here, like inside the P, inside the S, inside the S right there. I kind of want to eliminate that. So I would take my brush tool, color pick that same color, and then I would come down to this plus sign down here, add a new layer, make that layer behind the text layer, and then I would just paint in green all of this little excess, and I'll show you why in a second. So now all of this is filled in solid. Go back up to layer, merge visible. Nothing is editable. This is just what it is now. Now I'll double click on this and I'll add a stroke. Let's change the color to black. So now there's a stroke around the green. You could kind of see where it is. I'm like, let's see, should we make the stroke a little bit bigger? Nah, I liked it better at 15. And this right here looks solid. To me, looks cool. It's still a 2-color design though. So right click, duplicate layer, and then merge visible. Same exact thing. Now we have this. You're gonna come up to the magic wand tool up here. If you just hover over each little tool, it'll say what it is. So you go over this one, that's the selection brush. The one right behind under it is a magic wand tool. It says magic wand. Click on that. Click on the green on the inside of here and just press delete. Then now, anything that's green, you just click in there. It'll draw a little box around it or a little line. Press delete. And then get rid of that last one where it says deselect. Now we have our 1-color design that shows the stroke, right? But you're like, I don't want it to be black. I want to see what it's going to look like white. Double click on the text box down here. Go to color overlay. And we'll move this to white. Open up a new layer. Drag it underneath. And then you're going to click on this little half circle at the bottom. That's going to fill the layer. And we want to fill it with a solid color. It's filling it with green, but we want to use it on a black shirt. Now this is what it would look like on a black shirt. That to me is probably the easiest way to manipulate a random text to make it look a little bit different. It's still a single color design, but we added this black stroke around here. And remember, the black is the t-shirt. This is what the transfer or your vinyl is going to look like. It's just single color, but when it's on a t-shirt, this is what it's going to look like. The black of the shirt is going to be the shadow. It's going to be the stroke around here. It gives it just a smaller look and dimension. And remember, this is what it was going to look like before. This is what this looked like. Same exact font. All we did was small manipulation. We squeezed the letters together. We gave it a small little arch. We added a drop shadow and a stroke around the letters. And it went from this right here to this right here. And it's that easy and simple once you learn the basics of Photoshop. Like all of this stuff that I just did, you can learn just by clicking around. There's no, you don't even have to go to school for this kind of stuff, because this is like the basics of basics. And this is all I do. For majority of my stuff that I do is done with very small manipulation like this. Like you change the look just by squeezing the letters together. That's like simple in itself, right? But then all we did was just bend it a little to give it a little bit of arch. We added that drop shadow and stroke, and then we eliminated those colors. Well, they call it knocking out. So that way the shirt shows through, the shirt's gonna breathe behind the transfer, behind the vinyl, because you have all this knocked out. And then it looks like this. You let the shirt fill in that second color. So it gives the appearance of a 2-color design, but it's only a single color design. Hopefully this right here helps you out. And if you wanted to buy fonts, you could go this route and, you know, buy cool fonts and do this same type of stuff. Or you can just use the fonts that's already in your computer and just manipulate them a little bit like this to make it look a little different than what somebody else is gonna do. Every time I see people do stuff like this, it doesn't bug me, but there's so much more that you can do, because anybody can type out with impact font and make it look exactly like this, right? And you cut this out and you're like, all right, cool, I'm fine with this. This is what it looks like. But all we did was take that font and just change it up a little bit to look like this, which looks a lot different, and it looks like a little polished up, I guess, right? All you're doing is giving it a little bit of flavor, a little bit of attitude, and a little bit of your personality on here to make it look like something a little different. Hopefully this video right here helps you out. If you wanted to, check out that font site. If you didn't want to check out that font site, all you have to do is use the fonts in your computer and start manipulating stuff on your own. Learn your design software by taking your mouse and just hovering over stuff and figuring out what it is. Like, oh, here's the rectangular marquee tool. What does that do? All you do is click on each tool and mess around and see what it is. That's how I learned Photoshop, was just by clicking around and seeing what things did. And this software can do way more things. I don't know how to do all those things. I know the basics of manipulating text to make it look the way that I want, and that's about it. Drop shadows, strokes, and learning how to arch stuff, and using the path tool, using the pen tool, using the text tool. All of these things can be learned just by hovering over. It'll give you this little drop down and it'll say, hey, this is what the pen tool does. This is what the paint bucket tool does. This is the eraser tool. All of that is an easy way of learning how to use this software, right? Hopefully this video helps some people out. I know it's a little bit long. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you had any questions, please leave it in the comments below. I'm not a professional graphic designer. I didn't go to school for this. I don't know the right terminology for this kind of stuff. I just know a little bit to get by. And the little bit that I do know is stuff like this. Exactly what I showed you in this video here is how to make things look a little different than the regular font that's in your computer. It's just manipulating the text just a little bit to make it look somewhat cool. All right? Catch you guys on the next one. Follow me on Instagram if you wanted to. Peace.